Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock. So we appreciate you all being here on a Monday morning and welcome to the June Main Street Monday. And we're going to give you a rooms update this morning. We're going to talk about the Winfield trading, and then we're going to talk about the Paul Broom preservation grants. And then we'll open it up for discussion because I know you all have a lot going on. So we want to hear from you about things you're working on and what's working, what's not, your successes, all the good stuff. So we are really excited with the applications and the numbers for the rooms grant, and we're going to go through this real quick. We had a total of 20 applications from 12 communities. There was $970,000 in total funding request. And if you recall, each community could request up to 50,000. We had one community that didn't request the full 50,000. That's why it's not an even $1 billion request. Of all those 20 applications, the private reinvestment would have totaled $13.5 million. And if we could fund all those projects, it would have added 72 housing units. I think that's a great start and a great baseline for this program. And we look forward to seeing what we can do in the future with that. But we did make a recommendation, since we only had $400,000 available this round. That only allows us to fund 8 projects, but those projects will represent almost $6 million in private reinvestment and will add 45 housing units in our downtown building. If you recall, when the state program rebooted in 2019, one of the first things we did was had an upper floor housing workshop. We've had 2 of those. We've always been under the mindset that downtowns can play a role in the housing crisis in Kansas. Not a huge role, but a significant role. And I think 45 units spread across 8 communities is some serious housing being added. Our recommendations have gone forward. We expect to announce the awards next week. And then the deadline for projects beginning is September 1st. Construction needs to be complete July of 2026. So you have 2 years to get construction done and tenants in place September 1. That should be 2026, excuse me. So that's the timeline. Those are the numbers. We can't make an announcement yet, but we will have an announcement next week is the plan. And everything is moving according to the timeline so far. So I don't expect that to change at this point. Do any of you have any questions about rooms?
I have a quick question. What are the requirements to apply for this grant for the next year? Is there a population limit?
No, there is not. Basically, it's open to designated Main Street communities. So there were 28 that were eligible this round. Should stay consistent moving forward, but there's no population requirements, just that you're a designated Main Street community. Any other questions? Robert, Debbie, do you guys have anything you want to add about this?
I would just ask, is there any suggestions people would make for changes for next round? Because we are actually already talking about a next round. And so we'd be thrilled to have your input either now or send us an email.
Being able to fill out more than one application at a time would be super helpful, because I had 4 people applying and I'd start one and realize they missed something and then have to wait till they got it before I could start another application.
That's a good comment, Jen, and we'll see what we can do about that. That might just be a function of submittable that we don't have the ability to change. I don't know. That's a good question, though. We'll look into that. Other questions, comments about rooms this round or future rounds?
Emily asked about the schedule of the next round. Scott, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we don't have that set yet, but it looks like it will be open in the fall and open through until spring of 2025. And the awards will be announced in spring of 2025. And then the projects will move forward accordingly after that. So it's not set yet, but it does look like the next round will be open in the fall, probably September, October, and the announcements and the awards will be made in the spring. So you'll have significantly more time to put these together.
Yeah, more time and less. It won't be a full 1 year cycle to turn this around, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and the three of us on the Main Street team have talked about how we can help in this process moving forward. We want to help address some issues like code issues, sprinklers and those kind of things that came up pretty heavy in the applications. We want to just be able to tweak some things to help you be successful in the future. So we'll have time to be more involved in that process.
For this next round, do you expect the amount available to be given to remain the same? And also for codes, I recommend looking into the International Existing Building Code, which has a lot of things for especially historic buildings where you don't have to necessarily sprinkle if you meet certain requirements.
We would encourage all of our communities to adopt the International Existing Building Code. Many have not. What was the first part of your question, Randy?
Will the amount available for this grant increase or will it stay the same? Do you know that information yet?
We don't know the information yet, but we will be requesting additional funds.
We're definitely asking for more money for this program. I don't know that the amount available per award will change. That's where we're at on that now. We would like it to everything to increase. We'll try and get more money to start with, and then I think this round is going to be a good example of how important these types of grants are, and will help us make the case for getting more money into the projects. I thought the number that really jumped up to me was the private reinvestment and how much these projects cost. Got a $3 or $4 or $5 million project, which if you've been to those applications or the upper floor housing workshops with Dan and Mike, you know, that's generally what these projects are going to run. Anywhere from $2 to $5 million, and 50,000 we understand is can help, but it's also kind of a drop in the bucket. So great question though. Other questions, comments?
Jamie, would you mind elaborating on what part of the financial information was confusing so that we can be clear on what we need to change for that?
Yeah, there was a portion that, was asking about information that seemed like it was a duplicatable thing, like it had already been asked in one section. It was actually a form on the submittable page. I had actually sent you an email asking about that. It was fine. It just seemed like that information had already been answered, and then the way it was asked was a bit on the confusing side.
Okay, we'll take a look at that and try to
think that
make
was
that easier.
I think that was the table thing that you're talking about.
You're correct. The table.
Yeah. That was a carryover from HEAL that we didn't exactly expect. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, that form was based after the HEAL applications because it was so similar. We're going to adjust the budget document and add a pro forma document to future applications. We'll get that fixed. And Tabitha, I appreciate you mentioning the problem with the HEAL grant. I think that's a submittable issue as far as the being able to work on two applications at one time. And it's a great point too, Tabitha, that as you're working on these applications, we always encourage people to do them in a Word document, and then, so you can work on all four of them at once as an example, and then just copy and paste into each document or each application when you're finished and you're ready. But
well, and along those lines, Scott, Jen's asking about a PDF, but I think you had possibly already looked into that and said that it isn't available through Submittable.
A couple things internally, Commerce may be moving away from Submittable at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen or if it'll happen. And then two, we're not able to use fillable PDFs. Great questions. Any other questions, thoughts about rooms this round? You can always reach out to any of us if you have questions or need help with them.
I'll just say, and I don't know if this was the right way to do it, but it was when we had two applications. I think it was HEAL round 2, and we're running into that issue. So I asked, or one of my applicants actually created a submittable account and then added me as a contributor.
Collaborator, I think.
There you go. There's the word. And then I think I was able to actually, because one was under my account and one was technically under their account, and I was a collaborator. But that's been like 2 years ago now. So, and my brain doesn't work anymore. So I don't know if that's still a thing, but it was a slight workaround.
That's a great point, Kylie. And this did come up in a couple of instances this round, we know all of you who are applying. So that's a huge difference that between rooms and HEAL or some other grant programs. You know, it's specifically for designated communities, so we know who we're working with, we know your capabilities and what you're doing, and are familiar with a lot of these projects. So yeah, that's okay to have other people involved in the process. We just know that when the application comes through, it's Seneca Main Street or Augusta, you know, because we work with you all the time. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will turn it over to Debbie.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm just going to talk about the upcoming Winfield training that we have scheduled for June 25th and 26th, and then I'll come back to the new director part as well here in a second. I think you've all received this information, and I'm pretty sure that everybody that I'm seeing that's on here today has already registered. So thanks for that. And if you have any additional people in your community, we do have some additional space in our room that we're going to be using. So if you know of anybody else that's interested, you know, please encourage them to come. But we have a lot on the agenda. It's obviously the topic is placemaking. We have some great guest speakers lined up from Main Street America and here within Kansas and around. So lot going on. It's going to be full. We're going to do a Winfield walking tour. So we're just kind of warning everybody that first afternoon that we're hoping for good weather and that it's not going to be scorching hot. But if it is, we'll make it work, and just be prepared to have comfortable walking shoes and stay well hydrated as we go around and doing that. But hopefully, you know, going to give you a lot of tools to take away with you by the end of it to take back to your community and kind of just figure out what your assets are in your community and how you can enhance those and use those to make it a place of belonging and such. So, and then at the end, of course, we'll wrap up with directors only and hear from all of you and give some updates. We do have a couple of optional lunch at Shindigs that first day, and then a social get together that evening at Lady Bird Brewery. So looking forward to doing all of that in Winfield. So any questions on any of that from you? Also share, because a couple of you on here are part of the new directors training as well. And so again, we have, most of you have registered for that are the new directors, but anyone is welcome to come. So if anyone else on here is interested in joining us for a refresher course, please just shoot me an email and I'll get you added to that list so that we make sure we have enough food and such for everybody. But this is what that schedule is going to look like that day. And again, it's going to be filled with a lot of really great information that hopefully will be beneficial to all of you to take back and continue the great work that you're doing. So any questions from anyone on the new director training? And I just want to say thank you to Sarah. I know she's not on here right now, but she's been very helpful in getting this coordinated in Winfield. So looking forward to seeing all of you there. So that's all I have, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And as you think about training in 2025, we've already started thinking about some of the topics and speakers for 2025. If you would like to host a training, let us know. I think we've done a good job of spreading things out throughout the state, and we want to keep doing that. So doesn't matter where you're at, we want to get people out and about and spread the trainings in different communities. So if you want to host, just let one of us know and we'll start planning that for 2025. All right, Robert, do you want to talk about some preservation grants and Paul Brun?
So the long-awaited Paul Brun grant in Kansas, we're calling that the Kansas Rural Preservation Grant. It is live now. They quietly did that, and we'll send out some links to the information. But just to recap, it's a re-grant from the National Park Service. So our Kansas SHPO actually applied for this grant. a really long turnaround on this. That was actually announced in August of 23. So we're finally 10 months later live on that. But project that you're submitting must be on the National Register of Historic Places or applying. And so if you have a building that has applied to be on the National Register, it might still be eligible, but I would encourage you to reach out to SHPO to just get confirmation on that before you go to the trouble to apply. $100,000 maximum grants, that's significantly higher than the last time they did this back in 21. One of the beauties of this program is it's a very low match. So if you have a National Register building owner who's struggling to come up with the match to do something like a HEAL grant, this is a good opportunity. Only a 10% match. So that makes this grant fairly tempting to a lot of people. Their focus for this grant will be on rural downtown commercial cores, which most of us actually in the Main Street program qualify for that. The preference will be given for communities under 30,000 population, and then also preference given for Kansas Main Street designated communities. So this is a great opportunity for our main streets. I've told several people when I visited their towns and talked about upstairs housing and grants that this is a really great time to be applying for grants to make a good capital stack for your projects. You know, with the future second round of rooms, with HEAL, with Paul Brun, all these things can be stacked up, and also historic tax credits can be stacked up. The virtual workshop is June 18th at 1 p.m. I would encourage you guys, if you have a project, get your owners and get your Main Street director on that virtual workshop. It will be recorded and then available on YouTube. And if you're really curious, you can jump on now and look at the workshop that was done for 2021. This will be very similar, except that the amounts and the focus area will be different. But the application deadline is approaching fast, July 1st. That's 3 weeks from today by 11:59 p.m. I didn't put midnight because I don't want people to be confused. It's the end of the day, July 1st. That's 3 weeks from today. That's the link right there. I will copy that link and put it in the chat, but we'll also probably send that out in a kind of quick newsletter of some sort to get that information. But you can also just Google Kansas Rural Preservation Grant and it'll take you right to the page on SHPO's website. So that's Kansas Rural Preservation. I will add that HEAL is coming up. Program was supposed to be announced in May. There's some changes that are pending, so they haven't done the official announcement, but they're expecting to do that any time in June. The possible changes may be to the facade grant portion of the program. I won't elaborate more than that. We'll just have to wait to see what's approved by higher ups at Commerce. But we expect the grant application to open in June and be open through August. And then grants are awarded in October. So that's kind of caps off the end of grant season at Kansas Main Street. But I would encourage you guys, if you have a project that's already been submitted for HEAL or already been submitted for rooms and you don't get awarded a project, I would reapply this round of HEAL. And also, if it's on the National Register, get it in for a Paul Brun grant, the Kansas Rural Preservation Grant. So that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to talk about today, Scott.
Robert, I already dropped the links to the preservation grant and those kind of to the grant and the application in the chat. So,
oh, excellent. Thank you for doing that, Scott.
Coral had a question. Do we know how much is allocated for HEAL?
I do not know the answer to that question yet.
I don't either.
It may actually open up before we know the answer to that question, I'll be honest, so.
Sorry, did you say a specific date that Heal would open or just June?
June is the expectation, but, they expected the exact schedule to be announced in May and it just didn't happen. Any other questions about Paul Brun or Heal?
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned something about it being a good idea to apply for Paul Brun if you do not receive the rooms application or grant for this period. I realize I logged on a couple minutes late, so you may have already touched on this, but if Paul Brun is due July 1, will those awards be announced before that window closes? Like, will you know if you received it to be able to apply?
That's a great question, Meg. And yes, the rooms announcements are expected next week.
Okay, great.
But also keep in mind, just because you got a rooms grant does not mean you cannot apply for Paul Brun, especially if you can kind of, let's say your rooms grant was for upstairs housing, but you also had some facade work you needed to do for that upstairs housing. That would be a great thing to apply for a Paul Brun grant, to be
Okay.
honest.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. And frankly, if you've gone through the rooms application process or have a project like that, I would think it would make for a fairly strong application for Paul Brun. Great questions. Any other questions about rooms, quarterly training, preservation grant? If not, we'll open it up to the floor.
So I would
Say that.
assume that HEAL is going to be one per community like in the past.
That's a safe assumption.
And I know that you didn't give a lot of details in this, but is it a good change to the facade or not a good change to facade piece?
I just can't answer that
That's fine.
with confidence. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, so
Fine.
not sure.
It's okay. And then, Robert, will you give me a call after we're done here, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
And then Tabitha asked in the chat, if you received HEAL last round, will you be eligible this round? I don't know the answer to that. I think when it's announced is when that will be, when we'll know. It will likely be that way, but I don't know for sure. Great questions. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? I know at our February meeting when we talked about these calls, you mentioned that you wanted to have a chance to share what's going on in your community. So this is that opportunity. If anybody wants to visit about anything they've been doing or need help with, or
I'll prompt it. How are the farmers markets going? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
We just took over our farmers market this season, so this is our first time doing it. It is unfortunately not downtown, but it is still, we're still helping with it. But it's been going really good here for Seneca. We're doing Friday evenings, and we've only got 5 or 6 vendors that are showing up so far, but that's more than they had at the end of last year's market, so I'm feeling good about it. And we've got a guy that's bringing sourdough bread, and it's amazing. And now I kind of want to make a sourdough starter. So, I also wanted to say, Seneca, we have just launched, we're doing a veterans banner project similar to Emporia's. And Casey and Jess have been awesome sending me the info that they used, to do their project. So we are indeed quite a bit of that from them. And that was really helpful. And then this past weekend, we just hosted our 5th museum day, where all of our museums are open. And this year we added to it. We had a craft fair downtown. There was a quilt show at the library. There's just a lot of good things going on. And I think I've got 150 passports that were turned in. That means people visited at least 3 out of our 5 museums. So it was a really good weekend.
Well, and I've seen you have some music going on in Seneca right now too, Kylie, and I'm sure some of you others might as well.
Yeah, we're doing second Saturdays is our little niche. We have live music every second Saturday from May through October. So, and part of that was funded through a grant with KCAIC, who I know is going to be talking at our training in Winfield. So there's a avenue for anybody.
How many steps was it, Kylie?
How many?
Yesterday? How many steps was it? You
Just shy of 16,000. I hit 10,000 steps by noon. So
Wow.
I will, since Robert asked, I'll talk about our new Farm and Art Market downtown that kicked off May 18th. I don't want to talk about it too loud because it's been going so well that I'm afraid I'll jinx it. But we are thrilled to death with the support and the enthusiasm that our community has given us. Our farmers market opens every Saturday at 7:30. We've adjusted a few things, so we're closing at 11:30, but I'm proud to say that our vendors, we have a total of 22. And every Saturday that we've been open, our market has sold out, or maybe 2 or 3 items are left. We had a ribbon cutting this past Saturday with the Chamber of Commerce. We have a kids area, and the kids area has seen an average of about 45 kids every Saturday. I would imagine our foot traffic is anywhere from 500 to 700 people at any given, just walking through the front entrance. We have a couple of different ways to enter. But we could not have planned it any better. I'm really grateful to our vendors and of course our planning committee. The city of Salina is moving forward with some shade prospects for that parking lot at Ashland Santa Fe. If anybody's been here, it's very warm, it's asphalt. And the other exciting thing is we are already beginning to book our first Fridays for 2025. I think April just got a contract sent out for September. So we're well ahead of the game there, which is good for me when I present our budget later today to the city. And some of our summer projects kick off. We're having a flamingo invasion starting next week with the Rolling Hills Zoo, and gearing up for their flamingo fiesta at the Rolling Hills Zoo. So alive and well in downtown Salina. All of our pots are planted. All of our hanging baskets are up. Anyone who went to Birmingham knows that when we got there, their hanging baskets were dead, but ours are alive. So anyway, look forward to seeing everybody in Winfield.
Well, and good luck with your presentation later today, Leslie.
Thanks, Debbie.
Yes, thanks for the update. Great job. All right, before we wrap up, I do want to mention that you all should be getting some information from Main Street America about the accreditation process and also sub-license agreements, and you're signing those, and I'm seeing those come through because I have to sign them as well. So, and then always gonna keep reminding you that if you get any emails from Main Street America about renewing your Main Street America membership, if you're a designated community, do not pay those. We pay those through our contract. It's not us, it's a glitch in Main Street America's system. And we're working with them to try and get that resolved. What we may do is just change everybody to a specific renewal date. I don't know. I don't know why they can't fix it, but they've been aware of it for 4 years now. So if you get an email from them asking you to renew, just forward it to me, and I just keep sending them on and saying, fix this, and don't send these emails anymore. But they tell us it's an automated system that they can't fix, but we're working on it. They're working on it. But just wanted to remind everybody of that. Anything else? Debbie, Robert, do you guys have anything before we wrap up?
No, just looking forward to seeing everyone in Winfield, and keep up all the good work. Good stuff going on.
I will just add that we saw some good news for Marysville Main Street. Wayne, I see you're on here. That they received a grant to do their historic district nomination. So congratulations, Wayne, on that. Do you want to say anything about that, Wayne? Or
thank you, Robert. We are very excited about that. We also got a grant through that DOC program. We partnered with our public library and our our local internet provider. We're bringing Brian from Locable to spend 3 weeks in Marysville to help our businesses with website development and online marketing. So we're really excited about both of those grants.
Great.
That's awesome. All right. I think with that, we will wrap it up. I appreciate everybody being here. The July 8th will be the next Main Street Monday. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Have a good week.